Hello, everybody. It's good to be with you today. We don't have too much time, so let's get right to it.
All right.
So, as you know, sunny Hollywood is not so sunny these days. Years of strikes, pandemics, technological shifts, Hollywood is struggling like it's never struggled before. And now the arrival of AI presents a whole new set of challenges. Jonathan, you run a company that lives at the intersection of AI and Hollywood. Why do you think it's going to be AI's Hollywood savior and not the last nail in its coffin?
Well, it's a good question. First of all, like you mentioned, Mayor, Hollywood has been bleeding, especially the independent world, for the last 7 years, from strikes to COVID to not being able to get a set of eyeballs to budgets being too high when they need to come down. A tool like AI, as much as people in Hollywood today, well, some are getting their heads out of the sand. As much as people in Hollywood today try to blame artificial intelligence for a lot of the issues in Hollywood, I think it's the opposite. I think that it's these tools that are going to help propel artist-driven AI and make the barrier of entry easier and allow creative risk to happen because the cost won't be as high.
Tell me about these tools. Do you see what's the best use case? Is it post-production? Is it script, video, idea generation?
It's all, well, idea generation comes from a human, but it is a suite of tools where we have every single generative AI model all in one place, in one ecosystem, including our own models. So you can create a multi-model where you can get put into a workflow that you can service pre-production, production, and post across the film and television industry, advertising industry, anything content-driven. What I want to do is show you that today, to be a filmmaker, whether you're making docuseries or movies or television, the barrier to entry is difficult. It's expensive. And so I want to show something where I got a couple of documentary filmmakers who made a wonderful documentary on a video, if you don't mind, to show how, what do you do when you don't have the budget to create content that you want to create and tell stories that you want to tell. So with your permission, I'd love to show.
Let's go to the videotape.
Let's go to the video. I've always wanted to say that.
I'm Isaac Loftus from Primary Source Media and co-director and writer of an 8-part docuseries about George Washington called Revolutionary. For this documentary, we filmed over 50 interviews and crafted an incredible narrative about our founding father. But when it came time to edit this, I just didn't have the money to do the recreations that these stories deserved. And like, how do I visualize what these experts are talking about? What am I supposed to do? Just slowly pan across a painting for 45 minutes? I didn't think I had a lot of options. There was, until I met Jonathan and his team at Arcana.
So what do you do when you have a story to tell and you have that thing inside you? This is a docuseries that's being made for in honor of the 250th anniversary of the United States. These guys had only the budget to get a couple of actors, you know, in that garb against the black box theater. The information in the docuseries was incredible. They went to distributors to try to sell it, and they were told, great information, but the production value wasn't there. So what do? You use these tools. Everything that you just saw was storyboarded before by a human being, just enhanced with Arcana's tools.
Well, you mentioned actors. So speaking of actors, Scott, few people are more distressed about the advent of AI than actors are. And the AI actress Tilly Norwood is less popular in LA than Donald Trump is, which is saying a lot. Why? I know that you don't have that apprehension. I want to know why that is.
That's a good question. I look back at my career and remember the first decade or so, and it was primarily all shot on a film camera. And then about 10 years ago, that stopped, and we started shooting primarily all on digital. And I watched positions that, like a film loader or people that worked in film labs, those jobs go away and new jobs emerge, like a DIT or a guy who ran the media and was in charge of taking those hard drives back to the camera and processing that. So I sort of have seen the evolution, and I guess I embrace the tools instead of be fearful of them.
This seems on a different magnitude, though. And some people say actors are such a pain in the ass. Why wouldn't they replace all actors with synthetic versions?
Well, they can't complain, first off, when it's cold out. No, I think it's generally humans' inclination to be fearful of things they don't understand, don't know. That's human nature. But what I've seen, I think, in any quantum leap, in any big technological, sort of innovation we've had, is that ultimately it doesn't do as much as everyone is fearful of, and new industry emerges from that. So I think I take the bull case that I'm more, I have got more, the glass half full for it.
You're an optimist. So we know that AI can't really replicate human acting just yet.
Of course not.
How long do you think before that won't be the case, where you will have human-like renditions of AI?
I don't know the answer to that question, but the only thing I do know is that at Arcana, we're about artist-driven AI, not AI-driven art. And I believe that today we're at a wonderful place to do blends, which is why Arcana actually was the company to make the first fully Gen AI movie that got a SAG contract last year. And so I still think you need humans to tell stories and convey emotions, but I really believe that you can use these tool sets to enhance the visuals that you're seeing and get a set of eyeballs, because let's face it, today is it's the hardest time it's ever been to get a set of eyeballs to watch your content than it has been today. So you need an edge like these tools.
So you know that NBC, Universal, and Warner's are suing Midjourney for copyright infringement. OpenAI has been gobbling up legacy IP without paying the studios a cent. As someone who's bridging the gap between big tech and Hollywood, aren't you concerned about the tech industry's blatant disregard for intellectual property?
Well, look, I spent, before Arcana, I've been a filmmaker and a producer for 20 years. And I spent a lot of my career actually fighting on the Hill for intellectual property and copyright. I was an expert witness in the DMCA hearings in 2020. There's a deal to be done. I don't believe in scraping the internet. Like I said, Arcana is about artist-driven AI. What those companies do, they're going to do. I think regulation is on its way. And I think there needs to be some sort of a regulation. But it's funny. The studios went after Midjourney, but they didn't go after Google or any of the bigger companies that have more money than them. That was an interesting.
Our parent company is going after Google.
Okay.
You know.
Well, good
We're
luck to you.
taking them on individually.
Yeah, good luck to you then. I went after them. I went toe-to-toe with them in Washington. It didn't work out.
You also know these contracts are coming due. A major impediment to the contracts last time was obviously AI. New set of contracts in 2026. Do you think we're going to see the same tough protection against AI, or it's Hollywood? We're seeing a lot of Hollywood companies, as you said, softening. Or is that less of a problem?
I think they're starting to embrace these tools. There are companies like at the streamers and everything like that that are starting to open AI departments and start to look at different tools and what can be used in order to enhance content. Look, here's the thing though. At the end of the day, if you have a crappy script and it's just not a good story, I don't care how much AI you apply to it, it's just going to be crap. If you have a good story, a good story to tell, a good script, a good team around it that's creating this, and you can add AI, then you can actually enhance it and make the difference between being able to get it sold or not, like this docuseries.
Scott, Jonathan's fond of saying that he's going to save the indie movie business by leveling the playing field.
Yes.
That's quite a big claim. How do you think that's going to come about?
That's a good question. I think, you see it, I guess, firsthand. They already have done a feature-length film entirely in AI, with actors, actually. I think the democratization of artistry, it's funny that the studios are suing, and they are the gatekeepers. I would like to see a world where the costs come down so no one can tell you what you can or can't create. I've gone out and sold projects to film studios, and they've never gotten made. Or I've been told no. I think that taking the power back in the creator's seat, I think there's something really special about that, and I think we'll see a lot of creators and really talented filmmakers and storytellers come to life from that.
Mayor, can I add to that?
Sure.
Recently I got to get in touch with some of the users of Arcana outside of our B2B, like just normal users, creators. I met a guy in Kentucky that I went to go visit. This guy is unbelievably talented, and he needs to be an animator and an animated storyteller. Life had different plans for him, unfortunately. When this guy opens his composition book, his name is Shay, he opens his composition book, you see some of the most beautiful drawings you've ever seen in your life. He started to use the tools and place the drawings inside of Arcana, and now he's making a series that Arcana Studios is greenlighting called Grace Valor, which is going to be a microdrama, an animated microdrama about a little girl and her dog going to do really cool missions throughout the universe. That changed Shay's life. Without that, he never had the opportunity. So the point is, the red tape is coming down. And the next Darren Aronofsky could be somewhere in Louisiana, could be somewhere in Lisbon, could be somewhere in India. Like we got a kid in India, within a 4-month period of him making his film on Arcana, he started to get work, and now he's literally supporting his family financially. And it was the tools at Arcana that helped him execute his film, otherwise he couldn't have done it. So creators are finally taking their futures into their own hands without having to hear, as Scott said, a yes or a no from some producer or financier sitting behind a desk doing this to people, Finally, the only barrier to creativity today should be one thing and one thing only, and that's passion. And there's one other video I want to show, if that's okay with you,
Sure.
About a filmmaker, a guy named Chris, he's going to introduce himself, who wants to make a sci-fi movie, but we all know that it costs hundreds of millions of dollars to do these things. But I want you to see what Chris is doing with these incredible ideas that come from his brain and what he's making on Arcana. So can I play that video?
Go for it.
Thank you.
Hey, Web Summit. My name is Chris Karna. I'm the former studio art director at Epic Games. I left there about 2 years ago to pursue a career in film. AI came about, and I met Jonathan and Hank and the guys at Arcana, and they've helped me kind of visualize some of the ideas that I've had. And what you're about to see is a short kind of sizzle reel for a film I'm doing called Cosmic, using Arcana Labs AI. The idea is to create something that looks like a $50, $100 million production for a fraction of the cost. Enjoy.
I met a god that wanted to devour the universe. I told it no, but it came anyway. If you're out there, somewhere, listening, I have a message to give my son. Tell him the stars were loud. Tell him I listened.
I mean, come on. That was cool.
So that's extraordinary. But tell me a little bit about the process for that. So how did that get to you? How does that all happen?
Chris Perna got to us because he likes our tools. And Chris Perna is from Epic Games. He was one of the guys who created a game called Gears of War. So he has a super creative mind. And after he exited out of there, he wanted to be a filmmaker. He always wanted to be a filmmaker. And he wanted to make a big sci-fi movie. And the truth is, the only way you're getting a check for $100 million to make a sci-fi movie is if your name is Ridley Scott or Denis Villeneuve. But this is Chris Perna, and he did that all by himself, based on his storyboards, his drawings, his concepts. Now, Cosmic we're going to do as a short, which we're doing now, and we're going to use real actors. That's a concept. So we're going to use real actors, and we're going to shoot them against a volume stage with visuals created by Arcana, and all the big set pieces are being created in Arcana. And just like anything else, you run tradition. I still believe in traditional post-sound and post-picture, because you still need a human in the editing room, like to cut a frame here or there, and you need that warmth. So it's the blending of the two to be able to execute something like that.
Yeah, I think, just to add to that, I mean, good artists know when to stop, and that's always going to be something at a human touch. You know, you can tell a computer to do whatever you want, but you don't, taste is not, everyone doesn't have it equally. So a good artist will know when to give more or give less.
I was going to say, a lot of humans don't seem to know when to stop either, but judging from some of the studio output.
Yeah.
But given that studio output can tend to be so bad, does the democratization, like I'm not a fan of gatekeeping, but at least it imposes certain taste structures and stuff like that. Is it just going to mean we're going to see a lot more bad stuff as well?
I think there's a lot of bad stuff out there now.
Yeah,
there
but
always was.
Even
it's like people talk about AI and like deep fakes, and it's like, yeah, people have been doing deep fakes on Photoshop forever. So, I mean, it's always been around. And so, but what these tools can do for the indie business, we're in a market right now. The American film market is going on right now in Los Angeles. And from what I understand, it's dire over there. It's hard. There's not a lot of product. It's hard for people to get movies made. Distributors don't know what to pay for them or license them and turn around and make revenue. You have to lower these costs. Also, when you lower the cost, people will take creative risk. Independent filmmakers aren't taking creative risk because they're not supported to, which takes creativity and makes you have 27 Spider-Mans. You know, that's what happens. That's the result.
When you look at the response for the Coke AI holiday ad and the outrage and internet hatred for it, is that kind of Luddism going to fade, do you think, or will it grow as AI content becomes more mainstream?
I think eventually the acronym AI is going to just drop and it's just going to become content at some point. You know.
Scott, what's one actor besides you who you think has the healthiest, most forward-looking attitude about AI?
I listened to Ben Affleck talk about it, and I think he's pretty. He's one of my favorite artists, especially as a director. And I think he realizes it's a tool. It's a tool to use to enhance your project. I think some of the great. You don't hear a lot of the great filmmakers bitching about it. They're just out doing. They're just they're just out making stuff. So.
I think it's hard if you don't live in LA to kind of gauge like the level of fear and hatred of AI over there. Yeah. Do you feel, given that you've been like pretty forward and public about your support of AI, have you gotten pushback or criticism?
I don't know. I wouldn't be paying attention to it even if it was coming in.
Nicely said.
Nicely said, Scott.
Jonathan, what company besides yours do you think has the brightest future, is doing the most interesting things in this Hollywood AI space?
I think Natasha Lyonne's company, Asteria, is doing really interesting things. They have a really interesting model. But I'm trying to think who else, as far as who really embraces storytellers. Yeah, it's her company. Obviously, ArcanaLabs.ai does.
I said besides.
I know you said others, but I decided to answer differently.
Answer like a true
and
Hollywood.
maybe a Leonardo. But another company that I like a lot is Artlist. Artlist.io just started to introduce engines, generative AI engines mixed with the traditional stuff, which is what we like to do. So I think that they're really interesting as well.
And what kind of exciting new things are you both working on next?
Oh, we have, there's a studio section that we're working on for Arcana, so we're going to become like an IP factory. We're going to support people like Chris and kind of what we did with Kevin, the kid with Echo Hunter, and a bunch of things like that. We're adding more tools. Audio is going into the platform very soon, within the next month, and we're releasing another, and we're working on an app as well, to have a mobile app as well that'll have other functions, and talking about get put into other companies and their apps to bring Arcana into the fold of all kinds of different industries.
Sounds terrific. Scott?
Well, the last couple projects I've been on, we all use some sort of version of AI. We did a film together a year and a half ago, something like that.
The end of last year. Yeah,
last
something
year.
like that. Yeah, almost a year ago.
And we used it in that film. I also just shot a commercial. I have a brand that I invested in, and we wanted to come up with a fun idea. Once again, something that would have been nearly impossible to do on the budget that we had. And so we created a fake movie for this laundry detergent company that I was starring in. It was a joke, but it was fun. It was a fun, creative process nonetheless, and it wouldn't have been possible without these tools.
Well, I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
Thank you both for joining me today, and thank you.
Thank you for having us.